Hello everyone. You're welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be looking at Specimen Paper 1 for the IGCSE ICT 0417 for exams from 2023. So this is valid for exams for 2026, 2027, and 2028. So I discovered I had not made a video on this Specimen paper. But why I didn't do that was because most of the questions have already been covered within the chapters for chapter 1 to 10. So I picked out all these questions and incorporated them in the presentation, just practice questions. But I'm going to run over it as like just a revision because some people have requested that. So I'll get straight to it, just some things to know. Um, very importantly, very importantly, this paper is just 1.5 hours, and yeah, it's going to be a total of 80 marks, but it's going to be weighted to be 40%, like I showed you last time in my previous video when I showed talked about the syllabus. And besides that, yeah, so it's gonna be 80 marks. Beside that, just to give you some hints and some very important points for you to take note of, when you read a question, if you don't know what the answer is, skip the question and move to the next. Those are tricks of on how to do an exam. It's 1.5 hours, but some people might need spend more than 1.5 hours to do this paper because you waste time on a question when you obviously can't remember the question, or you don't know the question, the answer at that time. So always have in mind, if I read this question, for instance, I say circle two items which are internal hardware components. This is a simple question, but it's simple to me, it might not be simple to the next person. So if you find this question challenging, move to the next one. One component of the internal memory, if you don't know it, you skip. Don't be frightened. One thing that can make you fail an exam is fear. So once you get frightened, once you get once you get anxious, you begin to, that will block, like anxiety can easily block your brain. So just breathe and calm yourself. Not knowing one, not knowing two, not knowing three questions does not mean you will fail the exam. There are a lot more questions. If you look through the entire paper, you have a total of let me see, yeah, you have a total of 18 questions, so there are a lot of places for you to pass in. The pass mark over 80 is 40, so you have a lot of marks still to gain. So if you read a question, you don't know it, go to the next one, and when you're done with the ones you know, you come back to the question you are you missed, and then that way you can answer all the questions in time. So I will try to talk more about this just to give you some hints on how to approach your exams, but I'll go right into this has already been I'll go right into answering the question. So the first question says circle two items which are internal hardware component. I'm gonna switch to red. Internal hardware component, so something found inside your computer, and it's a hardware. So we've looked at you will find internal hardware components in chapter 1, components of a computer system, hardware and software. Internal, inside. Keyboard is outside. Actuator inside. Actuators is something external. Linker, do it is a linker, that no. A monitor is an output device outside. Mouse, no. Printer, no. So obviously these are my two answers. So those are tricks. You can get answers by elimination. The next one, they say one component of the internal memory of a computer is random access memory. State two characteristics of a RAM. So I'm gonna type here two characteristics of a RAM. First thing that can come to my mind is a RAM can be read from and written to. So that's one important point. The next point maybe you can think of is it's a volatile memory, simply meaning once you turn off your computer, all that information is lost. But writing, it is a volatile memory. it's enough. You should be good to go. And you can also write an alternative answer can be the temporal uh, storage. So meaning it stores any of these two is means the same thing. It stores information temporary. That's just the meaning of volatile. So any of these two answers should be correct, but you need just two of them. Two, one, two. Don't write the volatile memory here and temporal storage is the same thing. You will get only 1 mark. So make sure your two answers are different. And then it's a tick which device produces solid object. So which of these devices produces solid object? That's an easy one. That should be an easy one. So which device? I have a printer, right? Let me see. Which device sorry, tick which device produces solid object? Inkjet printer, dot matrix printer, laser printer, 3D printer. Solid object, solid object, object. Now this question is a little bit tricky, but it's very simple. If you look, all these three are printers: inkjet, dot matrix, laser. They print the same type of thing on paper, or they can print on maybe a cup, but 3D print actually creates an object. So this is the trick here. This is the correct answer. Don't always go quickly to the printer. No, there's dot matrix. All of them do the same thing, but this is the only different one here. So this should be your answer. For each of the following uses of data capture, name one appropriate direct data entry device. The devices must, so please always take note of this thing. The device must be different in each case. Must. So if you forget this, you might lose marks. So contactless credit card. How can you get information from a contactless credit card? If you know what a credit card is, you should know you can use an RFID reader, which RFID simply means radio frequency identifier. You will find this in chapter 2, input and output devices, multiple choice answers in an examination paper. Thing optical mark reader, OMR. We've looked at this. Yeah, make sure you write the full meaning of the names. That's important. To scan items at a computerized till. First of all, you ask yourself, what does that mean? A computerized till. Scan. Once I hear scan, barcode scanner, you can use it, or a barcode reader. You don't need to scan items, so you can do barcode scanner or barcode reader. Either of them should be fine. You can scan to read, or you can scan to provide to a computer. So it could be scanner or reader. You can have either of the two, or I can write reader here. So either of them is correct. Then the next one is a glass house is used to grow plants and is computer controlled. A glass house is used to grow plants and is computer controlled. Name 3 sensors which could be used in this glass house. Name 3 sensors which could be used in this glass house. So remember, this is important for you. They are using it to do what? Grow plants. Computer controlled. What do you need? Plants need what? Light. Is that true? Do plants need light? So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Plants cannot grow. Plants need light to grow. If basic biology knowledge. So I will know that I need a light sensor. Next, you might want to study the moisture of the soil or the humidity. Both of them mean the same thing. You might want to do humidity or moisture sensor. Yeah, I'm just giving you alternative answers. You just need to write humidity sensor is correct, or moisture, or just moisture sensor is correct. So don't waste your time writing both of them. You can write just one. So this is an alternative. I'm just giving you options. To save time, write just one. And the last one I can think of is you can maybe want to do the pH of your soil, because controlled environment, you don't want a soil which is acidic or something. Also, you might want to measure, I think importantly, you want to monitor the temperature with your computer, temperature sensor. So these are sensors you can use. Remember, a sensor is part of the input and output devices, the very last part of it. Sensors are there. A sensor simply helps you to get a signal. It could be analog, it could be digital, but very often sensors are analog. Then that information is transmitted into a digital form for the computer to understand. Then say give 2 reasons why data from the sensors need to be what. That's what I was just talking about right now. So once you have this information in your mind already, you know exactly the answer here. So give 2 reasons why data from the sensor need to be converted for use by a computer. That's what I was just talking about. Because why? The computer the computer understands only digital. So you can just say so that the computer can understand the data. Yeah, so simple as that. So that the computer can understand the data from the sensor if you want to add those details. But yeah, so that's one reason. They say if you give 2 reasons. The next reason is data from an analog data from a sensor is analog. This could even be this should have been the first point. Yeah, this should have been the first point, but it's fine. Wherever I put it is fine. Data from a sensor is analog, and computers only on, which is why computer needs to understand the data. That's why you're converting it. So data from a sensor is analog, and then the computer needs to understand it, or you can write a computer reads only digital data. So either of them, any of those three, 2 of those 3 should be fine. And then question 6 says a smartphone has many uses. For example, making and receiving telephone calls. I believe everyone watching this should have a smartphone or some smart device. And remember that I've said, for example, making and receiving telephone calls. Give other users of smartphone. So don't mention this receiving and making and receiving phone calls. They have told you already. So don't mention it here. You are going to lose marks for nothing. So what can you use a telephone for? You can use it for taking photos. Simple as that, right? So those are very easy answers, real life applications, like I always say. Taking photos. I'm just gonna list them. I'm just gonna list how many do they need for. Making video calls, making and receiving telephone calls. Yeah, I think I can talk about video calling. So I'm being specific here. You see, this one can be audio, so I'm talking about video calling. So that's different. You can talk about social media. A lot of us now like social media, right? Or social networking, or slash networking. So yeah, I think the right word is like a general term in social networking. You can talk about things like text messaging. You can talk about things like gaming. You can talk about things like for calendar. Some people use their things for calendar, GPS, all those things. So you can talk about gaming. Um, uh, yeah, I can even talk about emails, very short answers. So these are just many different options. Any of them is fine. Any 4 of these is fine. You can talk about text messaging. Can talk about things like how many did I even talk about? Yeah, I think I talk about the calendar. and yeah, and many others. So any four of these should be fine, you should be good. So there are a lot of uses of telephone which you should remember. The next one says a developer is writing a program to record the result of examinations taken by students in a school. One thing I always say to is make sure when you're reading a question you underline some keywords. The person is writing a program. Why is the person writing the program? To record the result of examination taken by students. Now the question they're asking you is the program will be tested to make sure that it works. There are three types of test data that can be used to test the system. Very important: normal, abnormal, and extreme. Explain what is meant by normal, abnormal, and extreme test data. The way let me explain this question in a certain way. Let's say you're asked to do a survey, okay, and you want people from ages maybe 10 to, let's say, 15 years. So this is actually your normal data, okay. So anything out of this, so you can have data at the extreme, maybe something 16 and 9, right? That is the extreme. And anything somewhere here, let's say you can say 20 or 1 year old, that those are abnormal data. So I've kind of answered this question indirectly. That's me just trying to explain the extremes 1 and 20. Abnormal 1 and 20, 9 and 16 will be your extremes, and the 10 to 15 will be your normal data, because you're looking for doing a survey for people from 10 to 15 years, and those are things that a way for you to target this question. So I'm going to try to explain what abnormal data is. No, start with normal data. Simply what I say. So it's data within the acceptable range, okay, or you can say range of yeah, data within the acceptable range. Yeah, you can write that. Then abnormal data. Remember, ICT is very short answer, short and straight to the point. You don't need writing too much. So data within the acceptable range, very correct. Or data within the range of acceptability, just English and different ways of writing the same thing. Then abnormal data. When you talk about abnormal data, I said something out of the range, right? Or yeah, it's out of the range, or it yeah. So I'll just write data out of the acceptable range. Yeah, so we have an acceptable range, but our data is out of that range, so it's abnormal. And then extreme, so data is that is like just at the limit, whatever you can call it, the boundary. Data at the limit or boundaries of I can generally say acceptability, of boundaries of the acceptable. So if you have a range, any data at the boundaries or limits, that's the extreme data. So we are done with that. Question B said the program collects a large amount of data, and this could be stored using either what, very important, either a fixed solid state drive. Remember we talked about solid state drives in chapter 3. So you should know about solid state drives, the difference between hard disk drives and solid state drives. Solid state drives are much faster. One thing you should know. And then we also have cloud storage, which we talked about also in chapter 3, and I think in another chapter, ICT applications and cloud storage. So advantages of each of these over the other one, very important, because that might come up. You should already be thinking about that. Describe 4 advantages to the school of using cloud storage rather than using the word SSD. Why should they use cloud storage? Or why would you decide to use cloud storage over an SSD? Personalize the question. Reflect, how best would one thing help me over the other? Why should I use cloud storage? There are many obvious reasons, right? very an obvious reason for me, typically, because I use a lot of cloud storage now, I will have um, automatic backup of data. So there is automatic backup of data. For instance, when I work on most of my things now on my computer, they automatically get saved online. And yeah, so that's one advantage. Another advantage is that many people can easily access the data, so I can easily share my data with somebody if I want to. So many people can share the same data, so you can share your data with people. So another advantage we can think about is cloud storage. You can have greater storage capacity in the cloud. uh, so you can have more storage capacity in the cloud. Remember, there are disadvantages to some of these things, but mention the advantages. Those are the obvious advantages, so don't worry about that. Even though, yeah, that will come at a cost, but it's an advantage. And I think we are talking about a school here, so definitely you pay for what you use. You don't pay for more than what you use, for what you don't use. That's the thing with cloud storage. So you the okay, I think what the school only pays for the cloud space used, so that's also a good thing. It's not like you have an SSD, you just have to pay everything at once before you own it. So these are just four answers you can think about. There are obviously many other answers. You can send data directly to and from different people or different computers. You can increase your capacity whenever you want. So those are obvious, but it's difficult with an SSD. And the Roman 2 says describe three disadvantages to the school of using cloud storage rather than using the SSD. Now comes the disadvantages. As I said, you have to pay, right? Yeah, so there is an ongoing cost, so you have to pay. Yeah, well, I'll just write cloud has to be paid for continuously. Yeah, or somebody say there's an ongoing cost. That just means you don't pay once and it's over. You have to pay continuously as you use it, like maybe every month or every year, depending on the kind of subscription you decide to use. So there is an ongoing cost. And there are also security issues or security risk. So you have more security risks. uh, yeah, or we can say more security issues as people can access your data. Yeah, so somebody can access your data and then share it without your authorization. So those are some just security issues. And you can also think of users. You must have internet access, so users must have internet access. Yeah, access. Yeah, users must have internet access to store or retrieve data. Yeah, so these are some points. You can also have mentioned that a user must, yeah, you also need reliable internet connection if for you to yeah, this is actually, I've said two things in one point. So user must have internet access to store data. User must have internet access to retrieve data. So these are actually 2 points. In fact, let me separate it. Yeah, these are 2 points that you can actually, yeah. Yeah, so these are 2 points. I just separated them. Yeah, they talk about the same thing. The part C of question 7 says the developer spends a deal of time using a computer for each of the statements given. Identify a hard problem and describe a possible solution. So typically, programmers, they spend a lot of time sitting down. So we've learned the risks of using computers. There are always risks or disadvantages associated with prolonged use of a computer. So now they are asking you, what are some of the issues that might face health problems using a mouse for a long period of time? What are the things that can happen if you use a mouse for a long period of time? First thing, we'll talk about RSI. What does RSI mean? Repetitive strain injury, right? Yeah, so repetitive strain injury, that's the obvious, like one obvious problem that you can get with from using a mouse for too long. What's a possible solution? You should use an ergonomic mouse, right? Or we call it a trackable mouse. Use an ergonomic mouse. Yeah, so that's always an obvious answer. We've looked at this in chapter 2. We talked about some ergonomic mouse. Just one bonus and coupon, you can do regular hand exercise. Yeah, you can exercise your hands regularly. If you don't have an ergonomic mouse, exercise your fingers regularly. That way you don't end up with RSIs. Then they say sitting for too long in one position, what can happen? You can have back pain, right? Back pain. You can have back pain. And how do you solve back pain? Regular what you can take regular breaks, walk around. Obviously, take regular breaks. Yeah, and walk around. You can use foot rest. Very often we have back pain because of the inclination or the way we sit. There is an ergonomic way of sitting. There's an ergonomic way of sitting as a person when you're walking for long, and that way you can also walk around if you want to. Those are just bonus point. Regularly, just to avoid sitting for too long. So these are different options you have. Question 8, it simply says a company has an extranet. Explain what is meant by an extranet. Let me think about it for a moment. Okay, when I talk about an extranet, thinking about it, I'm just gonna try to do something. I like pictures. So you have a company. Let's see, I don't know where you find yourself. You might have, let's think about the biggest shop in your country, or the biggest retail shop, or some people that sell something. They have a company and then they have a network. So that network is usually private. An extranet is a private network. It's within the company, and it can go out of the company to its customers. So the customers can access it. Its stakeholders and other people can access that specific network. So these are just some characteristics of an extranet, and we will use that. They say explain what is meant by an extranet, so we are trying to explain. Remember, you explain short points, short bullet points. That's how you explain things. And when you're talking about in ICT, So firstly, you need to know it is a private network, right? So it is a private company network. Yes. Next thing is it is controlled by the company. Yes, that's very important. So if it's private to the company has to control it. Somebody is not supposed to control it for them. They pay somebody to control the network for them. So yeah, it you so you can external, yeah, you can allow, or you can just say it allows access to its customers, yeah, to its yeah, some authorized customers maybe. So that helps them to buy things online or order for. What is wrong with this spelling? Why are they asking me to do that? Yeah, it allows things to for authorized customers to access it. So we've listed 3 points already, so that is already good to go. And yeah, so that is good. You can also say it allows for some people, if a big retail shop, if they have retailers, if they have service centers, all those things, to different stakeholders. Yeah, you can add that, but the 3 points are more, so the 3 points at the top are more solid, so you can stick to those ones. Now number 9 says a taxi company tracks the routes their cars have traveled and the current location of each one using a global positioning system, which is what? GPS. The company tracks the route. GPS, I don't know if you've used GPS, but it's something very common. Just tells you where you're going. So GPS, for those who don't know, if you enter a car at times, or if you don't know where you're going to, you want to leave from point A to point B, what the GPS simply helps you do is, it can, if you put the exact address of point B, it can help you get to point A, from point A to point B, without you needing to ask somebody, oh, how do I get to this place? The GPS will tell you, turn left, turn right, move forward, 5 meters away, turn right. So that's what the GPS does. So a map showing the route taken and current location of each car is displayed on the office monitor. Describe in detail how this system could work. So how do you think this company GPS system could be working? How does a GPS work? That's the first thing you want to ask yourself. Or how is it that they are able to see the real-time data of the car, or the location of the car in the screen? How does that happen? We've described, I think we've talked about this. Can us talk about ICT applications probably. We should have GPS there. So firstly, the first thing normally done is GPS GPS software is used to calculate the position of the of the car. So the position of the car has to be calculated by a GPS software. So yeah, that's very important. It must be calculated. So for you to know exact where the position or the location, so GPS software is used. So the specific GPS software they use to calculate the position of the car, uh, um, right? Periodically, if you like, you can add that. So there has to be a specific time frame when those calculations take place. The next thing, what could be done? The data will have to be transmitted, right? The data is transmitted to the office. That's how they are seeing it on the computer, to the office computer, right? That's how they are able to see it. So this data, yeah, is constantly sent to the computer at regular intervals. Yeah, regular time intervals, you can write that. Yeah, so that's the only way you can stay on track to where you're going to. That data has to be constantly sent. If there is a break in the data, you will not know where a car is at a certain point. So it has to be sent constantly. And if data is sent constantly, what's the next thing? That data is can be stored, or it can give you yeah, it can be there. The data is stored, yeah, it's stored in the computer. So that's how come they are able to see it. They can even backtrack where was the car at this specific time. And yeah, so once this data is stored, the map is what updated every what typically it happens every few seconds, because a second miss can cause you problem. So map is updated every few seconds. So I have 1 2 3 4 5, so that's more than 5. If you want to go further, they even have softwares that can help calculate the speed of a car. It can tell you when, at what time the car will be at a specific position. So those are also possibilities. And yeah, so these are points you can focus on. The next one is, they say a head teacher is planning to hold a video conference, important video conference with teachers from other schools. The head teacher already have basic internet connected desktop computer system, including a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Say identify 3 pieces of additional hardware. They say they already have a desktop computer system, monitor, keyboard, and mouse. So they say you identify 3 pieces of additional hardware. So make sure you don't mention these ones again. Neither in order to put in the video conference. One very important thing, right now I'm recording. I'm using what? A microphone. You need a microphone for your video conference. Every computer has that. Every phone, whatever you can use for a video conference, has a microphone. The next thing that you can think of is you can need a camera, like a webcam. What else can you need? Maybe earphones, headphones, whatever you want to call them. Headphones. Yeah, some people they want speakers. If it's a group meeting, they might need speakers. Some people can even project it on a large screen, but you have your answers there and many others. They say a technician is setting up the hardware for the video conference. State 3 tasks the technician will need to do to set up the hardware for the video conference. How can you set up a video? You can assume that the hardware required has already been purchased. So they have the hardware, but the technician is the technician needs to set up the hardware for the video conference tasks. Okay, things the technician definitely, like, obviously need to do. What is the technician supposed to know or do just to make sure the conference goes very well? Yeah, so before the conference, that's what I just trying out. What should happen if not? So the need to do to set up the hardware for the video, ensure the hardware are all turned on, because you can set up things and you don't turn them on, so they're not gonna work, right? So very important point, all hardware should be turned on, and that all the hardware are turned on. Yeah, or I guess the right word might be, you can use switched on. The next point, what next do they need to do? Yeah, you should do like a trial test on the carry out a test run. I'll just say carry out a test run of the whole setup. Yeah, very often when you do a setup like for a meeting or for somebody you want to try it, make sure it's running before you hand it over to the person. So that's something very important that technician should do. And maybe a last point we should think about is to technician, he can, internet is there, check the volumes. Yeah, you should check the volumes. Yeah, check the volume of speakers. You should also check the internet connectivity. You are doing a video conference, so definitely you need very good internet, so you should check the internet connectivity. Yeah, so these are different points you can mention and they'll be good. And I believe you can even go more specific, carry out test run of the whole setup of the if you like you can mention specific thing, microphones, speakers and all those things, but make sure you are listing different points. Ensure that all the hardware are turned or switched. So those are different points. Chapter question 11 says microprocessor controlled devices in the home have had positive effects on people's lifestyle. Microprocessor devices in the home, we've talked about this. One of the positive effects of using these devices is that we can now set a cooker to switch on while we are out, so that arrive home to a cooked meal. Perfect. Describe the positive effects of using other microprocessor device in the home. What are the positive? What are the advantages of microprocessor controlled devices in the home? Or how could microprocessor devices be how could they be helpful to you? So typically, very often, why do they even create them in the first place? Reduce the need for they reduce the need for people to do manual work. That's why you're cooking, and not you don't need to be there to watch it, so everything will just turn off on its own. The next one we can think of, people use it, they can be used for physical fitness. You can use it to take care of your fitness. You can use it to track your fitness. Can be used for physical fitness tracking. So we're looking at microprocessors in the home. They can be used for cleaning. They can also be used for leisure activity like gaming. So one obvious thing, people tend to have gain more time for leisure. So while your food is cooking, you can be playing with or having time with your family and all those things. So those are some of the advantages. Another point we can think of, we have smart fridges. They can help with for shopping. So we can actually smart. I'll just write smart fridges, which are what am I can help provide a healthier lifestyle and even order food for you. Yeah, so their fridges, you can get the smart fridges that they are actually very smart, and they can actually help you order food stores for you. So those are things you should think about. How many points? 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 4. We've given 4. Yeah. So they can also use to control smoke and fire alarms in the home. So you can actually can be used for security. So there are many uses of microprocessor control devices. Any 4 of these should be fine. Any 4 of these you should be fine totally. So I'm just giving more so that you have more talking points. Now, interesting question. Tawara retail. You will see a lot of these type of things in the practical paper. Tawara. They always use this name. Tawara retail is an online store. This online store does not have physical shops. Customers buy products from this store using internet shopping. A lot of people buy things online. Describe the advantages to Tawara retail of offering internet shopping. Why is it good to offer internet shopping? Any why will you want to shop online? That's a question you can ask yourself. Or why will you want to have a shop and you decide to sell your things online? So first thing I can think of, they say, let me see, describe the amount of tower rate of offering. Okay, first thing I can think of, they can have a larger, or you can just say, I think the right word might be global customer base. So once everything is on the internet, it once things are on the internet, they have a lot of they give access to many people online. So you have a very large customer base, and that helps a lot with selling. Prices of goods can easily be updated, so that's a very good thing. Not even just prices, product so they can also provide target prices for specific groups of people, because so for instance, at times something will pop up on your screen, or buy this, is because they are targeting you. So that's a price target. So with online presence, they can get people's data, and then they target people with specific prices, making them buy more things from them. So those are possibilities. So it so they can also increase their profit. Higher what am I doing Higher profits due to what? Because they have lower employee number of employees. Once you have less employees, you have less people to pay, so you can make more money. So that's why most businesses now that are going online, because they will have to pay less people, so that helps them. so it's also cheaper to advertise their products online. So yeah, those are good enough answers. Question 13 say a media student is creating a movie in school for a project. He needs to take the movie home to edit it. The student intends to use a CFast solid state memory card to transfer the movie files. The student is unable to save the work. So CFast solid state. The student is unable to save the work on the memory card. Give two error messages that may appear when attempting to save the work. Yeah, so what are some error messages you get? Typical. I believe you should have sent something like this. You could just simply say memory is full, right? Or memory full. You just say memory full. You could say your card is corrupted or card corrupted. Very often that's what it will show for this memory card. Corrupted or card corrupted. It could be card error depending on whatever your provider decided to put as a message. At times you will just say device not recognized when you plug it, so those are other things that can come up. Yeah, any of these two should be fine. Compare the similarities and differences between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Interesting question. What are the similarities and differences between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? When they talk about similarities and differences, you have to be careful. It's a total of 4 marks, so I would advise give two differences and give two similarities to have a balance. That way you get all your marks. Okay, or if you have too many from this, you can give 3 differences and 1 similarity, or 3 similarity and 1 difference. So always try to have a balance, but I usually go for 2 that way you don't have problems. So I would say they both they are both wireless, so they both use wireless. That's something you should not forget. It's an obvious answer. So that's a similarity. Number 1, they allow. Another similarity is they both allow multiple devices to be connected. Oh, these people are helping me to be connected. I think here's D, to be connected at once. Yeah. So I'm going to give 2 differences now. Other similarities, I'm just gonna mention them. You could say they both transfer or transmit data securely. Yeah, you could talk about they use radio frequency to communicate. So they use radio frequency signals to send data from one point to another. Generally, Wi-Fi is faster than Bluetooth in most cases. Wi-Fi yeah, you could say that. Another point you could talk about, Wi-Fi actually has a longer range. Most Bluetooth is like 8 meters or so, but Wi-Fi can go even between multiple buildings, so has a longer range than Bluetooth. So those are things you should think about. What is wrong? I'm having so many things wrong with sped. Yeah, I think those are the points you have there. And yeah, one thing too, I think Bluetooth is usually restricted in connectivity. Wi-Fi can connect more devices than Bluetooth. Yeah, so So these are some things you can mention, and you should get all your marks. Question 6: discuss the advantage and disadvantage to customers of using internet banking rather than visiting a bank. Advantages, disadvantages. So I will start with advantages. Okay, so we have 6 marks, so I have to list 3 of each. So very important, you have to split that up. So it saves time going to and from the bank, so that's one. You want to always save time. So it also saves money going to. So first point I talked about time, and now I'm talking about saves money going to and from the bank frequently. Yeah, I'm just gonna add something later here to differentiate this point from the other one. And finally, or if I want to give a third point, I would say you save money, you save time, you can also make save you from robbery. Let me see something. Okay, saves. Oh, yeah, you from physical. Yeah, yeah. In some parts of the world, and depending on where you find yourself, you go and collect money in a bank. There are always some guys, bad guys, waiting outside. They can, get hold you and rob you, take your money. So at times, doing things online is usually very good and preferable. And just maybe one bonus point, you can have access to your account 24/7. Yeah, so that's very good advantage. Now I'm gonna do the disadvantages. First one I'm gonna talk about is we have security issues. Your information can be stolen. Security issues as transactions. Information can be stolen if unsecured. Yeah. Networks are used, so very important. Next thing, what is a disadvantage of internet banking? Yeah, user always need a reliable internet connection. Yeah, I'm actually writing too much, but user always needs a reliable internet connection. Perfect, full stop, we should be good. Last point, disadvantage, you always need a device for two-factor authentication, because those are the problem with banking apps. You have to set up two-factor authentication. There is a risks for phishing. We've talked about phishing, farming, and fraud. Fraud. People can steal information from you just through when you're trying to do things online. And 1 2 3, we've actually done 3. Let me just give a last one. You always need is always needed for two-factor authentication. Yeah, so those are the points. You can work with that. Some confidential personal data can be classed as sensitive data. Name 3 items of personal data that could also be sensitive data. Sensitive data, what is sensitive to you? Maybe your race, it could be your uh, gender, it could be your political views. We have a lot of these points actually. We talked about them. It could be your racial origin or where you come from. It could be your religious. What am I doing? I'm spelling faster than I'm typing. Religious affiliations or religious. Can I say religious beliefs? You could talk about political affiliation or political views. You could talk about maybe you have a criminal record, which because you can talk about things like medical records. Yeah, so these are personal information. There are a lot more obviously, but you need just three. Question 17 says a student uses social media to keep in contact with other people. Describe 4 strategies that the student could use to stay safe when using social media to communicate with others. Simple as this. You use social media. How do you stay safe online? How will you keep yourself safe online? That's how you should approach this question, so that it becomes easy for you to answer. So first thing is you should for you to stay safe, you also want to allow other people to feel safe. So always use appropriate language when communicating with people. So always use appropriate language. Next thing you can think about is don't share personal information, right? Personal information. This auto correct is just adding things for me. Don't share personal information with unknown people. Another point for you to stay online is don't click on links from unknown people, right? Or I can just say don't click on suspicious. We've talked about how to know if a link is secured, HTTPS. So you should always know that those links, some of them are suspicious. They can steal your data or hack into your device. I said so you should use or set up security on your profile. Restricting only friends to view certain information. So like some social media platforms, you can put your account on private, so that people you don't know, people you don't want, they cannot have your information. So that's very important. And this is the final question, right on time. A manager in a hospital has decided to ask a software company to develop a computer system. The system should allow to book all their medical appointments online. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of to both the patients and the medical staff of this type. So I'm gonna start with advantages. What are the advantages? I always type faster than always what is wrong? Yeah. I always say start with advantages, give a balance. 3 3 should be fine, or 4 2 4 2 2 can work. The exam they usually allow for that. You can do 4 2. So first advantage, I'll say there is 24 booking can be done 24/7, so you can do booking anytime you want. Because they're asking for, because they want to both the patients and the medical staff of this type of system good. It becomes easier for staff to manage bookings. Yeah. We can talk about patients can easily, make changes. So if I book and I'm changes to their appointments, so very important. 1 2 3, I've already given 3 there. I can add maybe a bonus point to say so patients can easily make multiple appointments in different units. So rather than going there physically, so you can make multiple appointments in different units. That saves you a lot of time and money. For disadvantages, I would say so privacy. So we have issues with privacy. So your information, and also or privacy or security of information. Of patients' information. So it's something of concern. You don't know what is going to happen to your information, and all patients need computer skills to make online appointments. So that's something to bear in mind. You need to know how to use a computer before you can book an appointment online. At disadvantage, some staff may lose their job. Obvious, those kind of things happen. And maybe a bonus why some people actually prefer physical booking. For some reason some people always like old school, so that's how some people are. And finally, they say the manager of the hospital has purchased an expert system to help diagnose their patients. Name 3 components of an expert. What is an expert system? Expert system, it means it's something that can learn on its own. It can do certain things without human intervention. So it needs a user interface. Firstly, for instance, an interface, you come, it will scan, or it will ask you to say something before it communicates. So first of all, it needs a user interface. Next, it needs to have knowledge, or we have they said name 3 component. Okay, it has to be knowledge based, meaning it needs to have information about whatever it's supposed to do. And then it should have an explanation system So if you say something, it should be able to explain it so that somebody understands it and can use it. So those are some things. You can also talk about. It has rules on how to go about things. It also has rules based and um, yeah, other aspects which it needs rules. It needs an inference engine. Very important. I think the most important thing I was almost forgetting. An inference engine, just meaning um, you need somewhere to look up information to know that, oh, this person has this problem because of this or so and so complaint. So that is something very important. And yeah, and this brings us to the end of this paper. And I would love to hear your comments. I would love to know what you think about this. It took me averagely, I think, about an hour because I had to write a lot, I had to talk a lot. But if you know what you're doing, you should be able to answer this paper pretty fast if you're well prepared. But typically for a student, yes, 1.5 hours is good enough for you to answer this paper. Like I said, skip any question you don't understand and come back to it later. Yeah, I'm just doing it chronologically because custom, like most of these things I know them and I've done them over and over again. So but you could see in some questions I still had to wait for some time, think about the whole thing, because you need to think in some places and write the answer in the best way. So I will see you in the next video, and for those who have not subscribed, please like, subscribe, share the video, and leave any comments. Thank you, and see you next time.